What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Inspiration series. We're starting things off today with the HAVw A6 Juggernaut. I believe that's right. This is actually a really interesting build to me, personally. It is a Star Wars based build, which I wasn't really intending to do like a full Star Wars video or something, and it just so happened that this is coming in on the heels of the Solo movie coming out. So, not really my intent, but probably why the workshop had a lot of Star Wars builds lately. And a couple of really good ones that I picked. This one, though, is really interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One, you don't normally see too many ground-based vehicles in Space Engineers, though admittedly there has been a flood of them in the last couple weeks. On the front few pages of the workshop being a lot of tanks and stuff like that, so it does happen. But especially in terms of Star Wars, usually you don't get these kinds of ships usually. You're always seeing Star Destroyers or fighters or whatnot, so it was a kind of interesting vehicle to pick. The other interesting part about it is that it's oddly vanilla, with the exception of the turbo lasers. Are these them? Yes. So the description does state that if you didn't want to use mods, you could actually get rid of these and just put standard turrets on the conveyor points and stuff like that. But if you really want the true Star Wars feel, you need the turbo lasers, of course. So a lot of detail work here too. I actually really like the use of the interior wall block here because it adds detail without you actually having to do much, which is cool. But there's all these little things that you don't really even notice until they're not there. And I really don't know how, unless this whole thing is a small grid or a mixed grid, how they did such a detailed hull up here. I mean, there's a lot going on here. It is set up, according to the description, for fully functioning. It's capable of being used in low or no gravity, as well as obviously on a planet. I believe it has its own gravity generators. We're going to go in and take a peek now. See what kind of trouble we can get into. So there's actually a decent interior for it being a small rover type like ship. And once again, we've got a lot of detail going on. This does look like a mixed grid though, because this looks like large blocks and then you got small. So I'm not sure where their connection point is, but it's really well done. Because like this, let's talk about this for a second. Lately in the Inspiration series, we've been doing a lot of just showcasing, and I haven't really been pinpointing any particular building methods that I find interesting. Oh, okay, that's the light button. So this is an interesting idea. They've got a passageway here, but then basically used blast door blocks as a door frame to kind of conceal the shift in grid type, which is really neat. I really like that. I think that's super cool. Because, once again, I might just not be seeing it, or it could be outside, which would actually be really smart, but I'm not seeing where they transitioned from large and small grids, other than just you can kind of see these are large blocks and these are not. But very well done at blending the two. I actually can't say I've seen it done this well most of the time. Most of the time you can usually find the transition point, and this is really snug. Like you can see here, the use of the blast door blocks as a frame. Actually, that might be it right there. That rotor block right there may be the connection point. I'm not sure. But still, all the block spacing is really snug, which is hard to do. It's very difficult to do. I'm actually a little surprised, though they said that it would work in low and no gravity and stuff like that, but it doesn't necessarily say that it's airtight. Because I was thinking, I don't know how this can be airtight technically when there's two grids overlapping. But in terms of aesthetic, though, it looks phenomenal. I mean, there's a ton of detail in here. You've got all the good bits and bobs that you'd kind of expect. What do we got here? Just empty buttons, looks like. What is this for? Is this just a rear... Oh, okay, we do have some controls. Spotlights, ore detectors, batteries... Oh, reflectors, I get it now. Okay, so that's got to be on the back. Thrusters for braking, apparently, if I'm reading that right. Mass block, use this in case of no low gravity. Okay, so if you're in a no or a low gravity, you would turn the mass block on, and then your own gravity would affect the ship, I think, if I'm understanding that correctly. Let's take a peek at our reflectors. That's funny. So it's kind of like taillights. I believe this is the back. This ship has like two ends with bridges, cockpits type thing, so I never really was sure. I believe if my Star Wars knowledge is up to date, though, that the bigger front part is actually the main system, I think. Which would make sense because we have rocket launchers here, rocket timer, starship laser cannons, reflectors, mass blocks, batteries, ore detectors, thrusters for braking, sniper tower. We have to check that out. Gyroscopes. I'm guessing the gyroscopes are for low gravity. I'm not really sure what the ship would need that for, or the vessel. Oh, so that's gotta be the sniper perch right there. Stop it, camera. Alright, let's try this out. Yeah, I was right. So you have a little sniper nest. That's cool. Good grief, that's tall. Alright, well, if you got any snipers on your team, we know where we're putting them. Gyroscopes, yeah, I don't see that doing anything just by turning it on. Nothing rotates or anything, so I'm guessing that's just for if you're in low gravity and you maybe hit a bump or something. I'm not really sure. And then we've got our lights there. This is actually kind of cool too. They put four reflectors, put 4 spotlights on the blast door blocks to make kind of like a bigger headlight kind of thing. It's really cool. So we have rocket launchers. Okay, they're not working for some reason. Are they on? Maybe? Oh, you know what? That came up as something else that I didn't know, that I still don't know how to read. Is it a hidden block? Yeah. Oh, they're incomplete. Interesting. Wait, no, that might not be the same thing. Anyways, they're not working for some reason. Maybe if I use the timer. Okay, now it makes sense. That makes so much more sense. Okay. Woo. Good gravy. That is a lot of firepower. How many were we talking about here? Is that 8? That's 8 on each side. So we're looking at 16 rockets hitting you in the face. Woo, that packs a punch. Alright, so those can retract in very snug little compartments. I really have to commend the use of blast door blocks. It makes everything super flush. Like everything's really, really close to each other, and there's not a lot of cracks and stuff in the design, which is really cool. Oh, there it is! Yes! I'm tempted to use these weapons in my Let's Play build, just because that's just a classic sound. It's just awesome. Alright, so I think that's all of the bells and whistles for that. So let's try driving it. Are we parked? I think we're parked. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So maybe I need to turn the gyroscopes on now. I don't know. We'll leave them on. We'll see if it does anything. Maybe actually we shouldn't have those on, because if I turn the mouse, then it might actually flip us over. I'm really not sure what the gyroscopes are for, to be honest. But yeah, it actually moves really good. I mean, I'm full throttle. Like, I'm just holding the button down. I'm not braking or anything. and it's doing decent in the speed department, and we're not flipping over or anything crazy. So I would say very stable. Very cool. I like it. I've always thought that this particular transport vessel in Star Wars was always a little bit odd. Not in a bad way, just different. It was just odd. And so I was really excited to see it actually on the workshop. So anywho, that's pretty cool. Let's move on to the next one. Alrighty, so next up we have the you know what? Just check the description. I'm not even gonna bother trying to pronounce that. I don't know. It's a sailing ship, and it looks freaking awesome. That's what I'm going with. That's the my version of the title. There's a couple of really interesting things about this ship. Predominantly, one of them being that it's actually modeled after the Jackdaw from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is interesting. I don't really remember much about that ship, but it is kind of interesting that it's not just a random design, that there was kind of a starting point, if you will, which is cool. I think that's kind of interesting. I also like the sails. I don't know if it was because it was designed off of another ship or if it was just how the builder did the sails, but the sails are much more complicated than typical sailing ship builds for space engineers and stuff. Typically you see, you know, a solar panel across the side or something like that, or a couple of them stacked in layers, but this one has a lot of different ones, and there's also cross beams and a bunch of other stuff. So it's like, that's what I was meaning by, I don't know if it was because they were going off of an established design and not just saying, hey, I want to build a sailing ship or something like that, or if it was just the builder. But either way, it ended up way more detailed in the sales department, which is kind of cool. There's also these cool scaffold things, kind of like the net, I don't know what they're actually called, but the netting that would go up along the sides and stuff. I think that's a really cool use of what I'm assuming is solar panels that are not completed. Yeah. And then I don't know what these are up here, maybe just slanted. Oh, they're half block armor. Okay. So they're half block armor built off of the frame of the solar panels, which have to be mounted to a rotor. There it is. Okay. So, yeah, there's a lot of cool little designs in this. Now, I should preface this with it is not actually survival ready because of the battery life, according to the description. The description says that it doesn't have enough battery life to run properly. So it's predominantly a creative build kind of thing, and there are some cargo containers, but apparently that was just kind of builder habit, for lack of a better term, I guess. I also like, oh now this is interesting, they used a sound block on the back of the rocket launchers, which I'm assuming makes it look more like a cannon. That's pretty cool. See, it's those little things. I think that's pretty neat. We also got turrets up here, you know, in case those don't work out, in case you can't broadside them. Now there's also, it looks like there's also atmospheric thrusters that I'm seeing here and there, but I don't know, actually I don't know if I can get, how do you get down to the main hull? Unless it's just, it might not have an interior hull actually, or a hollowed out one. I was thinking it did, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't actually know that it does. But I believe the description mentioned that there were hydrogen and ion thrusters beneath, but they were trying to conceal them, so that's probably why we don't see any. Oh, this is kind of a cool view. Let's see, is there a control block we can take over? Oh gosh, I cannot read any of this, so I don't actually know. There's a control block. Let me actually see if we can grab. Nope, it's not letting me do that either. All right. What about these? These are Thruster override, shoot once. Nope, I can't find a remote block. I don't know what all this stuff is. I really don't know how to find the remote. I thought maybe if I hit the G key I could access the blocks, but I forgot we're in a passenger thing. Let me see if I can get to it from here? Nope, this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. Hold on. Haha! So, after some good old-fashioned detective work, I finally found a remote block. So I think we have control of the ship at this point. It actually moves really well. Especially considering that it's fighting gravity. Now, obviously for the pilot, you know, it doesn't seem like there's any cabin pressure thing that would keep you alive. So you'd probably want... Am I headless? Kind of looks like I'm headless. So you'd probably want to not fly it in space unless you were making sure that you had your helmet on and stuff. But it does have hydrogen thrusters from the looks of things. So it may be possible, but again, it's not really that practical in survival because of the, you know, lack of... Something's sparking up there. Not me, not my fault, didn't do it. You know, the lack of battery life and stuff would make it kind of impractical. But let's find out. So that's the broadside cannons on the port side. Then we go starboard. Where are these? Oh, there's below deck ones. Oh, well that's clever. Well now, this thing has some firepower. So if you did like, let's see, 1 and 3. Oh, that could tear a ship up awful quick. And I don't actually see any other controls. So I think, again, because this is not really survival ready, it's probably not too on the practical side. I didn't really get a look at the underbelly. It does kind of look like the underbelly and the inner guts is mostly just thrusters and stuff like that, so there's probably not an actual like cabin or anything to view in that regard. But with that, I think we've seen all for this one. Let's move on to the next one. Alrighty, so last but not least, and you know, you probably saw this coming, especially if you read the title, but we have the Millenium Falcon, the solo edition. Now this was done by the one and only Purrfect-Blinky. Pretty sure that's their username, and I've featured them a lot on my channel, on my inspiration series, particularly with the Star Wars replications and rebuilds, or whatever you would call them, recreations? Well, anyways, recreations. Sure, let's go with that. Now, this is actually an interesting one because, at least at the time of this recording, who knows when you're watching this, I guess, but the movie hasn't actually come out yet, so this is all based on promotional material, as it says in the description, as well as speculation and stuff like that. So it's one thing to have seen a ship in a movie a lot and had chances to see it from different angles and see interiors and so on and whatnot, but it's another thing to build it basically just off of trailers and posters and whatnot. So hats off to them for that, because I think that's really cool. I'm not really sure how the movie's going to go from what I've heard of the premiere and stuff. It sounds like it's doing okay. But the ship did interest me, particularly the change in the nose. I'm sure that's what caught everybody else's eye right off the bat, before you even noticed anything else besides the color and blah, blah, blah. But the nose being solid is really weird. It's very strange. And admittedly, it did kind of pique my interest as to how it went from one to the other, and if it was on purpose or was it damage that they just left, you know, that kind of thing. As the description states, there's also some other retconned, changed things as far as the dish here, for example, and the single cannons, or cannon, rather. instead of the, what was it, quad turbo lasers and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, but overall the detail on this is crazy, and that's just the exterior. So, just looking at the exterior and stuff, it's pretty detailed. And my hat really goes off to people who can detail ships like this. I've always wanted to get to this point. I'm nowhere near close. So this is really cool. Now, it is stated in the description that the interior is heavily based on speculation and stuff like that. Because, well, other than what we've seen in the trailers and stuff, we really haven't seen the inside of the ship yet. Well, I mean, we have, but not this version. And so, one thing in the description was that it's definitely, like, cleaned up, not as cluttered kind of thing as we're used to seeing. Actually, let me see. We don't seem to have, either we don't have lights or these lights aren't working. Okay, the lights aren't working right. It's Space Engineers doing its weird lighting glitch thing, so we're just going to keep our headlamps on. It's a little too bright than probably what it was intended for, but, you know, otherwise we're going to walk around the dark, so. Actually, speaking of walking, I'm going to turn on my walk key so I don't move around in this small space like I'm on speed. So it looks like we have a cargo bay here, complete with piston. So there's probably a control panel around here somewhere that I'm missing to retract that or extend it. But this looks like the cargo hold. So let's move around. We'll leave the cockpit for last. We've also got a console room over here. A lot of cool just stuff. I really don't know how builders come up with what should go where and stuff like that, but it always amazes me. I'm not really sure what this is for other than maybe a extra cargo space perhaps. The interior, like I said, ooh, a sensor-based window. Well, now ain't that cozy. Wait, this is a window, right? No! This is some kind of sensor-based escape hatch or something. Ooh, that could be dangerous. We'll flood the whole, or empty the whole space. But the description did mention that the interior was a little bit less detailed and a little bit more open. Partially, I believe it was, again, coming back to it being speculation on the builder's part, but partially also, I believe, was... I'm pretty sure there was a statement in there about leaving it kind of open for people to customize and stuff as well. I think. Could be wrong. You can check the description to be sure. So this looks like more cargo spacing areas. This is interesting, because this looks like a cockpit of sorts. So I'm not sure if we actually fly the ship from here. There's a merge block here. Makes me wonder if this is some kind of escape ship, and that's what the nose is detachable about. Spoilers, I guess. If that's a spoiler, I just spoiled it for myself as well, so don't feel too bad if you didn't know about that. Because, I'm not gonna lie, if that actually detaches, I didn't know it was supposed to do that. And it wouldn't make sense why they don't have it anymore. So yeah, I'm usually not one to spoil anything for people, so if that spoils it for you, I'm in the same boat. I just spoiled it for myself. So we do have the classic cockpit. The one, the only. And this is one of those where in Space Engineers, without mods and stuff, I think this is probably as detailed as you could get. Everybody knows the Millenium Falcon was always cluttered with buttons and stuff. This is one of the things where I actually like StarMade's system of being able to do subgrids, where one of these blocks could have like 60 buttons on it. I'm exaggerating, but you guys get the point. So you could actually do a more detailed cockpit in that regard. So, but for vanilla and no mods and everything, this is really cool. Now I will point out, I don't think there's any glass or anything here, so it's probably not pressurized at all, would be my guess. Alright, so we have landing gears. We have landing gears. Okay. Gatling guns and a group. I'm not sure what that's for. So let's try this out. This is not the main cockpit. Well! Hey now. What do you mean that's not the main cockpit? It's where... It's It's where Han always sits. How's that not the main cockpit? Alright, sorry about that. I had to deal with some background noise, and we found the main cockpit. It's over here. I'm no expert. I'm a fan. I'm not a fanatic. But I was pretty sure that's the main seat. No? Maybe? Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. But anyways. So we have the main Gatling guns, which are coming off of the cannon positions. Now, I don't know in this build if those are actually movable or if they're fixed. But, works really well. So we have landing gear pistons. Ooh. That's really cool. That is so cool. I mean, those look legit, too. They kind of remind you of the actual landing gears. That's awesome. That's awesome. And the ramp comes down, too, when you hit that one. That's an interesting little nugget kind of thing. We also have rocket launchers. Where are these located? Okay. Rocket launchers. They are not firing. They must be concealed somewhere? This is the ramp. I don't see anywhere to extend them. Let's just lower the landing gears again and see what happens. Maybe there's a compartment in there? Nope. They're not firing. Okay. Not sure what to make of that one. We also have the ramp control, I think, which is this one. Yeah. So we have just the ramp. And then there's... I don't know what this does. We're going to push it, but it's program cruise, I think. So let's hit it. Ooh. I don't know if it's supposed to be doing all those, if that's like lights, or if that's just the AI adjusting for different things with different thrusters. I also like the use of the LCDs. Looks like we've taken on some damage. We're smoking back here. Rockets still aren't firing. And then we can turn that off. So as far as flying, oh, she flies nice. She flies nice. I mean, it's not a fighter, grant you, but it flies nice. It feels like a Falcon. And then the actual landing gear controls are on the 9 key. Now, I'm going to wait for this to slow down because I don't want to bang my head all over the wall. But, and I'm actually going to lower the ramp as well. Because I have a feeling, yep, like that, it's going to kick me out. So... I want to check out this escape pod looking spoilery thing over here and see what's going on. Let's close up the ramp and let's see what we got going on here. Because this thingy-majig has me intrigued. Where was that? Was it over here? It was over here. Did I go this way? I don't think I did. Yes, I did. Okay. Yeah, so let's see what's going on here. So we have a merge block. Let's detach it. Ooh. Spoilers. I mean... yeah, no, that's totally probably a spoiler right now. Whoops. Alright, well, on that totally not spoilery note, we're going to wrap things up here for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.